We're back at it again. Metal Gear Solid 2 Part 2. Once again, joined by me boy Ben.
Hello everybody. Despite all the petitions to take us down off the air, we're back again.
Funny enough that you say that, because the last podcast, the first part of MGS2, I had a bit of an uphill battle trying to get that monetized. For some reason, they just decided right off the bat that it wasn't suitable for advertisers. So yeah, that was the delay in the last one. They'll probably pull the same crack with this one. YouTube evidently don't trust me, and when I have the video submitted for human review, there's a 50-50 chance that they'll go my way and 50% chance that they'll go against me.
They have it out for you, PJ, boy.
They most certainly do, and in fairness, I suppose, I've been fairly liberal with the old swearing, because I punctuate with it, so I suppose, look, I've earned it. I've earned my reputation. But yeah, so Metal Gear Solid 2, Part 2. Where did we leave off last time, Benny?
Well, we finished off the tanker chapter. We did the kind of build up to Raiden, the reveal, and we've just kind of kicked off now to pull off the mask, revealing who he is. Colonel gives you the old kind of the rundown, telling you what the mission is, and we went from there.
Yeah. So we got into a few bits and bobs in the last one with regards to the anticipation building up, and I threatened to stick in a few bits of visual cues for this one with regards to some of the promotional material in the magazines and all that lark. So I brought down from my home place in County Tipperary a box of crap, which is basically got like a stack of the DVDs that came with the magazines themselves. Rooted out a few like strategy guides I have, one of which being the strategy guide for Metal Gear Solid 2, which has towards the back pages of it like a list of all the secrets and stuff that you can find in the game. I remember I bought that in London because those things, I guess you could buy them over here, but you'd have to go to some place like Dublin. Being raised in Tipperary,
Bad enough as it is, yeah.
Yeah, it's bad enough as it is, but like at that time, trying to find stuff, like you could find the actual game itself, but best of luck to you trying to find merchandise and, you know, extra bits and bobs. So I had to cross the ocean to get those. Could have presumably maybe got them in Dublin or something, but, you know, then you'd have to go to Dublin. So screw that.
Well, sure, you know yourself. By Jesus Almighty.
I'm going to stick in a few like little images, maybe video clips here of all the little bits and bobs. There's one magazine in particular that I credited with having spoiled the Raiden reveal for me, because Metal Gear Solid 2 was released in November 2001 over in the States, and we didn't get it until the 8th of March. So that's 5 months out. Basically, the bones of half a year of a difference we had to wait. Don't know what the reason for that was. I don't know why.
It was like that for every game, though. The Americans always got it first.
Well, that used to be the case. Nowadays,
now it's pretty much out at the same time. But like even back then, we would be waiting.
Yeah, the old PAL versions. They weren't so. I'm trying to think of a quip here.
I wait. Go on.
Let's not bother. It was a load of balls. We had to wait for the game longer than everybody else, but we got with it the promotional DVD, which had the making of and all that jazz. I might actually try and find an upload of that, because there might be a few little sound bites and clips that might help bolster a few of the points that I might make, primarily with regards to knocking Kojima, because as I've demonstrated in all the prior podcasts, I love doing that.
If you didn't quite catch on to that, dear listener, we do kind of bash on him a small bit.
Yeah, like I think I bash on Kojima in direct proportion to how much everybody else gushes over the man. Where my thinking on the matter is that, like, say, there are so many talented individuals involved in coming together and creating any game or any piece of art, it kind of pisses me off a bit when you attribute all of that down to one man and he seems to take the credit for everything. Like, it's not something that's that prevalent in the gaming industry with any other series of games, but it is very much the case with Metal Gear. So I think in direct response to that, I like to knock the man where possible, because I think, you know, an ego like that,
I think he deserves to be taken down a notch a bit.
An ego like that begs to be knocked. So, you know, but anyways, during that little section there, I might throw up the old visual cues, but to get back into the meat of the game, so we have just started in the Big Shell, 2 years after the events of the tanker incident.
Indeed.
the portion of the game that was set up to make everyone believe that you're getting the perfect sequel, exactly what you wanted from a sequel of Metal Gear Solid from 1998. Even the setting, like, it kind of seemed as if you were getting an entire game that might have been based on the tanker. That was my impression when I was a kid anyways, because all the early trailers just showed you footage of being on this tanker, and it didn't... I always thought, you could definitely get a full game out of that, like at least a game that was the same length as the first Metal Gear Solid. That game wasn't terribly long, despite being on 2 discs, but I'd say the majority of the space in those discs was taken up by the cutscenes and the dialogue. And if you were to take all the gameplay, I don't know, would you get maybe 4 or 5 hours worth of, maybe not even that, but the Metal Gear Solid franchise has always been nearly more film than game. Say Metal Gear Solid 2 is actually a worse offender for that kind of thing. I think that kind of serves it, because these were the first cinematic games, the first properly cinematic games, the first immersive. The cinema elements of the games, they complement the gameplay. They both work in unison to deliver something that I have said, and I will say again, is, in my opinion, something that hasn't been seen before or since.
Revolutionary,
groundbreaking.
I found a word for you.
Good man yourself. That's why you're here.
Hey! I think earlier on in the series anyway, it certainly balances the cinematic and the gameplay. But then as we kind of trudge on a small bit, not to jump ahead, it doesn't do that very well.
Once you get into Metal Gear Solid 4, I mean, that game is, and this is a conservative estimate, at least 70% cutscene. That's taking the piss. But in any case, there we go. We're talking about Metal Gear Solid 4 yet again. My God, when the day comes we get to that game. Oh,
jeez almighty, lads are in for a treat when we get there. By God almighty.
Fire and fury, the like of which the world has never seen. But look, we're still in the territory of the good games now. So, Metal Gear Solid 2, we're on the big shell. We have just started playing as Raiden. The rug has been pulled from under us. Now we're playing as this feminine-looking pretty boy man.
This greenhorn.
By
the way, who is voiced by Quentin Flynn.
Yeah, Quentin Flynn. I'm just trying to think of other roles that Quentin Flynn was in. He was in Mass Effect 2 and Mass Effect 3. He was Thane, was it? Remember Thane's son?
Oh, yeah, I know him, yeah.
Yeah, and he also voiced the character of Reno in Final Fantasy VII Advent Children. Look, neither here nor there. That's who Quentin Flynn is anyways. He's Raiden, and we're Raiden now. Kicking
off the old big shell. We're playing as Raiden.
So we come up out of the pool and all that. We're playing as this guy who is still letting on to be Snake at this point. Only then we get a glimpse of the real Solid Snake. We are walking through the area by the pool, only to find that there's been a few of the security guards, and they have been knocked out. They're out cold, and we get the glimpse of the game is trying to kind of be a little bit mysterious, but it's clearly Snake. We see the back of Snake going up an elevator, and I've heard it being read that, oh look, this was a way to elevate Snake above us. So we see Snake, and the first thing we see is he's turning his back to us and he's going up the elevator. So already the game is putting him up on this pedestal that it didn't really need to, because Snake was on a pedestal from the word go, because he's probably one of the coolest fictional characters ever conceived by a human being. So
sure, we already know he's class, for God's sake. There was no need for this at all.
Yeah, there you go. So all the boys are panned out on the ground, and you have your interaction then with the Colonel. You are introduced to the mission analyst, who is Raiden's girlfriend, Rosemary, or Rose for short.
What are you doing here?
Jack, can you hear me?
Rose, you're not supposed to be involved. What's going on?
Jack, I'm a part of this mission.
Colonel, what the hell is going on?
Raiden, meet the mission analyst. She'll be overseeing the data saving and support.
Why her?
The Foxhound analyst that was supposed to take part in this mission was in an accident. Rosemary was brought in as a replacement.
Then, not long after that, we go up the elevator and we're introduced to Raiden as Raiden. We're dropping this facade that he is in fact Snake.
Because all the way up to this point, his face is masked.
His face is masked. He pulls off the
skull mask.
The skull mask,
yeah,
revealing his lovely blondie locks. And
I stand in envy.
the way it does it, where like he removes the helmet and he kind of throws the head back, it's very much like a Head and Shoulders ad or something.
Garnier.
We have our little bit of exposition from the Colonel. The terrorists are calling themselves Sons of Liberty. Their leader is Solid Snake, to which we get the lovely high-pitched tones of Quentin Flynn saying, "The hero of Shadow Moses?" We start out there and we're basically being told, okay, look, you have to get in here. You have to sort out these terrorists calling themselves Sons of Liberty. Yeah.
Rescue the president.
Rescue the president.
Rescue the hostages.
Yeah, rescue the president, sort out these terrorists.
Be the hero, save the day.
Yeah.
It's all set up very kind of conventional in a way.
SEAL Team 10. You are told in the opening cutscene, SEAL Team 10 are also conducting their own rescue operation. So SEAL Team 10 are also there, and you think, okay, well look, at least I'm not completely alone in this. The SEALs are here, they're going to give us an old dig out.
You dropped in, the Colonel tells you to go find the president, find the hostages, stop the terrorists.
Yeah.
It's all very kind of conventional, it's all set up in such a way to...
Everything is as it seems at this point anyway. My first call of port was always to go away and get the M9, because in typical Metal Gear fashion, you're sent in with no weapons. Everything is on-site procurement, or OSP as they refer to it in the game. So the Colonel, when he's giving you the little lowdown, you're being told everything all over again as to how the game works, which is a little bit jarring, but the game has kind of started itself over afresh. The first part of the game, as we said, was set up to deceive you, but as far as this character Raiden is concerned, he has to be told this because he's green. And you're being told that, okay, look, the only experience that you have as a soldier is VR. Any of the training, any experience you've had has been done in virtual reality. So Raiden is, as far as we're concerned at this point, completely green, only has experienced VR training.
It's fresh off the boat, lads.
Yep. The Colonel thinks it's necessary to tell you everything with regards to, say, like how the Soliton radar works. One thing that I noticed straight away, because I played the original game into the ground 100,000 times before the release of Metal Gear Solid 2, the dialogue, word for word, how he's explaining it to Raiden, is precisely the same as how Mei Ling gave you that little briefing at the start of the original game.
The bright dot in the middle is you, Snake. The red dots are your enemies, and the blue cone shape represents their field of vision.
Your radar isn't affected by the weather, but if you're discovered by an enemy, you won't be able to use it. It gets jammed easily, I'm afraid.
Yes,
it's all made from currently existing technology.
You won't be able to use it in an area with strong harmonic resonance,
so be careful.
It's kind of like, Jesus, well, what are the odds that, you'd be fucking told word for word exactly the same thing?
Bit of deja vu, if you will.
Yeah, a wee little bit of deja vu, glitch in the Matrix, if you will, and...
Hint, hint.
Hint, hint, wink, wink.
Basically, it's trying to cement and emphasize familiarity.
Yeah, basically. Everything seems to be echoing what came before. Fundamentally, everything isn't as it came before, in that we're not playing as the man we want to play as. We're playing as fucking Goldilocks here.
Lovely man.
What a beautiful man.
Oh, Jesus.
We go from there, and it isn't long until we start to get introduced to this game's boss characters.
Dead Cell,
yeah. Basically the stand-in for the Foxhound unit from the first game. Metal Gear Solid 2's answer to the Foxhound unit is this bunch of bastards by the name of Dead Cell.
To put it politely, yeah.
Yeah, what was their significance again?
They were an anti-terrorist organisation that supposedly turned.
Yeah, like much the same, pretty much Foxhound in everything but name.
Yeah.
So, but this game's version of it, and it's not long until we are introduced to the character of Vamp. After we kind of get our bearings on the big shell, we're told, SEAL Team 10 they're in there now and they're conducting their own rescue mission. They're going to go in and they're going to try and save the president. So it is, if I am not mistaken, Strut B, I believe. Now, I might be wrong on that because memory.
We'll roll with it for now anyway.
Memory's gone to pot. We arrive there anyways, and it isn't long until we are walking up this corridor, and it is very reminiscent of the scene from the original game with the cyborg ninja, where you enter that corridor and he's butchered all of the genome soldiers. There's blood absolutely everywhere. Everything is a little bit unsettling. The music, the tone is a little bit... Raiden is traipsing down this corridor, and he walks into the room, only to hear like a bunch of gunfire and stuff. So there is some kind of altercation that's going on between the SEALs and some unknown character. We see then the SEALs are being picked off by what would appear to be a vampire, no less.
Jesus.
Yeah, the SEALs, I don't know how many of them there is. There's what, 6 or 7 of them anyways.
Most of them are mangled anyway on the floor. They're mostly dead. I think there's like 2 left alive.
Yeah. So we see this flamboyant vampire sucking the blood out of one guy, the remaining guy. Raiden's looking on in utter disbelief and terror. He's like, what in the Christ is going on here? Like, here I am.
What have I stumbled across here?
Yeah.
What the hell?
It's made pretty clear that this isn't just your average day at the office for Raiden. So there's a vampire sucking off SEAL Team 10.
You can't demonetize that. That's literally what he's doing, YouTube.
That's exactly what he's doing.
Listen closely.
Not that will stop him.
No, of course not.
Yeah, so
we're introduced to the character Vamp, who is voiced by Phil Lamar.
Phil Lamar, I believe.
He's a very well-renowned voice actor. Loads of voices provided.
Doesn't he do a voice for Family Guy? Isn't he someone in that?
I don't know. He probably did provide a voice for a character, but I don't think he does a main character as far as I know. I know he did the Green Lantern in the Justice League cartoon.
Okay.
So there's that.
There's that, yeah. But
like there's many more. He's one of those well-renowned voice actors like Fred Taskascore.
Vamp, he's sucking the blood out of this guy, and fucking Raiden's staring on, and he's like, Christ above, what's going on? Until Vamp basically drains the blood out of this guy, drops him to the ground, and he is basically looking at Raiden as if to say, you're next, buddy. Until, thanks be to Christ, a man comes through the door and starts shooting at him. So this guy comes in the door anyways. He's got his balaclava. He would appear to be another SEAL. He lets a few shots off of his M4 fly at Vamp. We have a little bit of a dance between this new mystery character.
Literal dance.
Yeah.
Because if you didn't know, dear listener, Vamp is based off a Spanish dancer by the name of Joaquin Cortez. So all the flair and the literal dancing you see is based off of that.
Yeah, and it kind of, in this game, it kind of really lends into that kind of surreal tone, because the opening, everything, you're getting all this military jargon, you're getting all these kind of military terms. Next thing, all of a sudden, you're brought face to face with a flamingo dancing vampire who's doing in all of these SEALs, all of these career soldiers. It's all a bit kind of, oh, right. Metal Gear has always been, you know, a little bit strange in the way it does things, but for the way the plot plays out in this one, it really kind of lends to it. So
you can move along with it. You can get along.
Yeah. So this mystery Navy SEAL who has come in to dig you out of a bind, he is grabbed by the head by this, he gets a slash across his arm. This vampire is also a knife-wielding vampire who seems to move at the speed of light. He can pretty much fly, leaping and hopping around the place. It's very
acrobatic.
Very acrobatic, very off the walls straight away. And
I think he literally comes off the walls at some points as well, yeah.
Yeah.
We'll get to that.
So
slashes the mysterious Marine's arm.
So he catches him by the head, throws him up against the wall, and he gives him an old sniff, as you do. He says, you smell like, it can't be. Are you? And then this man says to Raiden, he lets a roar at him, it's like, shoot him, what are you waiting for? So Raiden leaps and picks up the M4 that this mysterious man dropped, lets a couple of shots at him. It seems like there's going to be a bit of an altercation between these two until Vamp gets a call from somebody else that needs his assistance, basically. Vamp says, okay, look, I'll be right there, and he fecks off. So Vamp goes away, and we have to deal with him at a later point. You then have a bit of a conversation with this character, who then removes his balaclava, only to reveal that this guy has the face and the voice of Solid Snake. However, he doesn't introduce himself to us as being Solid Snake. He introduces himself as being Iroquois Pliskin, which is a reference to Kurt Russell's Snake Plissken from
Escape from New York and Escape from LA.
Yeah, they're 1980s movies?
About that, yeah. I've seen the first one, it's pretty good.
Played by Kurt Russell, yeah, they're pretty camp, zany movies, but Yeah, he was definitely an inspiration for the character of Snake. You know, even as an eye patch, which is kind of Big Boss territory, which we kind of lean more into come Metal Gear Solid 3. But in any case, you have a conversation with that guy and...
Hold on. I'm not an enemy. Calm down. My name is Pliskin. Iroquois Pliskin. Lieutenant Junior Grade.
The player is looking at this guy going, hang on a minute for a second now, that's Snake, like, that just is Snake. But we're having to go along with Raiden's perception and kind of just have to take it on good faith that he's Iroquois Pliskin. And they have a conversation about the strange man who they just encountered, who has butchered all these Navy SEALs. They have a little bit of a getting to know you kind of thing where Snake, or Pliskin rather, he asks Raiden, okay, look, well, what type of experience do you have? Like, you know, who are you here with? You know, what's the story? Raiden tells him that he is, in fact, a member of Foxhound, to which Pliskin replies, but Foxhound was disbanded. Like, you can't possibly be a member of a disbanded unit.
That suit. Are you Foxhound?
That's right.
Foxhound was disbanded. Huh? Where were you before Foxhound? Delta Force?
Because, you know, as we all know, Foxhound revolted and caused the Shadow Moses incident.
Them lads.
Yeah, that was basically the setting of the 1998 original Metal Gear Solid game. So it stands to reason that after Foxhound pulled that stunt, that they would have been forcibly disbanded by the government. So this guy coming in now claiming that he's now a member of this unit that no longer exists is a bit strange. And then they have a little bit of a discussion about the VR training that is Raiden's only experience. This becomes pretty relevant the further into the game that we get, but Raiden says that he was
setting up all the pieces in here for now.
Yeah. Raiden tells Pliskin that, you know, he was part of the Army's Force 21 trial.
I was part of the Army's Force 21 trials.
Force 21? That's about tactical IT deployment, right? Any field experience?
No, not really.
So this is your first.
I've had extensive training, the kind that's indistinguishable from the real thing.
Like what?
Sneaking Mission 60, Weapons 80, Advanced...
VR, huh?
But realistic in every way.
A virtual grunt of the digital age, that's just great.
That's far more effective than live exercises.
You don't get injured in VR, do you? Every year a few soldiers die in field exercises.
There's pain sensation in VR and even a sense of reality and urgency. The only difference is it isn't actually happening.
That's the way they want you to think, to remove you from the fear that goes with battle situations. War is a video game. What better way to raise the ultimate soldier?
They have an argument as to the effectiveness of VR training as opposed to actual experience in the field, live exercises, and they have a bit of a philosophical disagreement as to the worth of VR training.
Because on Raiden's end, he argues that it's just as good as the real thing, to which Pliskin rebuttals that, like, you can't get hurt in VR, can you?
Yeah, so it's basically no good to you. And he basically says to him, look, you're no more than a video game player, really. So this is kind of further echoing that Raiden is essentially an analog for the player, because the player is basically, well, look, I suppose a player could be an actual military veteran, but the game assumes that the person playing the game is just some kid that plays a video game. So
a 13-year-old little boy who pulled one over his mother.
Yeah.
Stay at
home and play the fucking game, yeah. So look, here's 13-year-old me, had no military experience.
No military experience, not at 13 anyway, no.
Never shot a man.
Not in Tipperary. Might have swung a hurley once or twice, but that's about it.
Being brought up in Tipperary is kind of like its own field experience. It's a battle of a different kind, but granted, it wouldn't be relevant to what's going on in the game.
Yeah.
So in any case,
they did a little back and forth. Pliskin is kind of arguing against it. Raiden's arguing in favour of it. Its credibility and its all that kind of stuff.
So after a little bit of a discussion there, Snake decides he's going to give you a SOCOM, which we must remember is the weapon that you had from the first Metal Gear Solid game. So you get the OG pistol that you started out with from no less than a man who looks the spitting image of the OG character from the OG game. He basically says, look, I'm after losing a few pints of blood in that altercation with that vampire that we just encountered there. So I'll tell you what, why don't you run on ahead and I'll catch up with you. Once we get back into the gameplay segment of it, then you can call Snake on the Kodak and you can hear him having little dreams, to which like you'll hear him actually kind of say like,
He's still sleeping. Liquid! Huh?
stuff like Meryl, because he's dreaming and muttering in his sleep. And
you can do this right next to him as well.
Yeah, when you
can get out your tranquilizer and send Pliskin to sleep.
Yeah, that's it. And if you give him a couple of calls in the codec, you'll get one where he's just like, Liquid! So it's like, you don't have to put in too much effort to make the game show its hand pretty early that this is in fact Snake. I mean...
Yeah, it's obvious to the player but not to Raiden, but like you said, it's an analog for the player. We're just kind of running along with Raiden's perspective on things.
Yeah, Raiden is completely and utterly new to all this carry-on. That's grand. We're going to go along with it.
Yeah, so rolling off that, you give the Colonel a call, let him know that there's one survivor left named Pliskin.
Yeah, Lieutenant Junior Grade Iroquois Pliskin. The Colonel, he's not too impressed about this. He's basically kind of like, look, don't be bothering with that man. That man wasn't factored into the simulation. To which Raiden's all like, what are you on about? Like, I mean, Christ, he's a fucking SEAL. He's one of the SEALs. He's one of the surviving SEALs.
Kind of right off the bat from the beginning of the game, the breadcrumbs start sprinkling.
Yeah, and even the game, the area that you entered the big shell through, the bottom layer of it was full of cockroaches. And at one point, when Pliskin is sitting down and he's recovering from his blood loss, you see a cockroach comes out from underneath him.
How did you get in?
Fast rope descent from a Navy chopper.
I'll interject that
Stock
here now.
Singer, is it? Stock Singer stinger sound? Like a horror thing?
Yeah, pretty much.
That one of them, yeah.
Yeah. And little cockroach anyways crawls out from underneath him. So it's blatantly obvious that this is Snake, because we saw a Snake
we don't know at this point. His name is,
So...
it's still a mystery.
There you go.
Yeah, he's voiced by David Hayter as well, but that could be a coincidence.
Yes. It even comes up the way they do a little thing on screen where it's like Iroquois Pliskin and like brackets beside it, David Hayter.
Yeah.
So the game is beating us over the head with the fact that this guy is Snake, but he's just not letting on to Raiden.
Look, I'll give him the benefit of the doubt. We don't know yet. Okay?
Yeah.
So moving on. So you give the Colonel a call. Colonel is a bit kind of like, hang on now, this is not part of the simulation. Never mind that. Carry on to
He's a dodgy boy. Yeah. Stay away from him.
Carry on to what we told you to do.
Yeah,
press on. Find the president.
Yeah, find the president and see what the crack is.
Thing as well, like any time Raiden kind of kicks up a bit of stink or starts questioning it, Rose always kind of chimes in for that kind of, shall we say, emotional manipulation to get him on move.
Yeah, because let's not forget that the mission analyst for this mission is Raiden's girlfriend.
After all, I'm just a normal girl who's worried about Jack.
Tramp.
Yeah, absolutely.
Jack?
What?
Do you know what day it is tomorrow?
April 30th. Is there something special about it?
Isn't there?
I can't remember. I'm sorry.
Oh well, I'll keep trying till I hear the answer.
Yeah, rolling on. So you head off anyway, leave Pliskin.
Yeah, and then you are on the B to C connecting bridge where we get an introduction to another member of Dead Cell, a woman by the name of Fortune. Real name is Helena Dolph. So this character, as it transpires, is the daughter of Marine Commander Scott Dolph, who was the guy who
was the commandant in the first chapter of the tanker.
Yeah, the tanker, that's right.
By the way, she's voiced by Maura Gale.
Okay.
I have no idea what else she does, but there you go.
Right.
So she's the unit leader of Dead Cell.
Dead Cell, yeah.
She took over from the previous fella who died. So
yes, her husband, I believe, he was the leader until there was a liquidation, we're told, of Dead Cell 6 months ago, where basically for whatever reason, the government turned on them and tried to do them all in. Once we meet the character of Fortune, she's actually dealing with an assault from the other half of the SEAL Team 10 unit that were sent in, and they're all trying to mow her down on the bridge. But the thing about Fortune is Fortune also has a supernatural kind of a thing going on, wherein her character is known as like Lady Luck, because she's unbelievably lucky on the battlefield in that bullets won't hit her. So any bullet that's fired towards her
will literally curve around her.
Yeah, it'll curve around or swerve away. If a grenade or something is fired in her vicinity, the grenade will not explode. And there's a kind of a bit of a meme around the whole thing. One of the members of SEAL Team 10 fires a grenade from the grenade launcher attachment on his rifle, and it lands in front of her, and he looks on, he's like, a dud! A dud! A dud! No grenade or no explosive will detonate around her. No bullets will hit her.
She's just standing there taking it. She's waiting to be shot.
Yeah, she's
essentially inviting the gunfire, hoping to be killed.
This woman is, it would seem, she is depressed beyond tablets, and she claims to just be searching for a good death, basically. Not even a good death, she just wants to die by whatever means possible.
You'd figure one of them hand her a bit of length of rope at some stage.
Yeah, you'd wonder what would happen there, say, like, would the rope just not, like, would it somehow remain loose?
For God's sake.
That's one thing I was thinking, like, because she's always going like, why can't I die? And you'd just be wondering, like, I mean, if she were to take, like, a bunch of tablets, you know, would she just sick them back up straight away? Or would they just not take? I mean,
give her a blade or something.
You would imagine if she's this desperate to self-delete, that there would have been some means that she could have tried up until this point to pull it off, but it would seem that no, she wants death by bullet or something, and she can't seem to get that.
There's alternative methods out there. There's plenty of help to be had.
There's more than one way to skin a cat, as it were.
By the way, just to kind of give a shout out to Carrie Gregson Williams did most of the score, but for Fortune's theme it was Norihiko Hibino. Or Hibino? Whatever that is. Yeah.
That's the little jazzy one.
The little kind of loungy music.
That's the one that's
beautiful.
It's reminiscent of the track Can't Say Goodbye to Yesterday, which is the main theme of this game. So we see Fortune is armed with a railgun, which is a miniaturized version of the railgun that was on the Metal Gear Rex from the first game. Metal Gear Rex being the giant bipedal nuclear-equipped walking deathmobile.
Just in case you forgot.
Just in case you forgot, from the series of machines from which the game gets its name from. So basically, she's got this mini railgun, and she decides, look, okay, it would seem that none of these SEALs can kill me, so I'm going to blow them all away. And she does that, and in the process, she destroys the BC connecting bridge that is also connecting to the Shell 1 core. And we see that Fortune has the president in her captivity, who seems to be knocked out, and Vamp shows up, picks up the president and a mysterious suitcase looking thing. He pisses off with them right before Fortune opens fire on the SEALs and does them all in. So Raiden now, after coming into contact with both Vamp and Fortune, is taken aback by all of this. He's like, okay, here's a woman that bullets won't hit, and here's a bloody flamingo vampire
boy,
who likes dancing and sucking lads off. So
just to give you a quick recap, anyway, that's exactly what's going on.
And actually, on that note, while I have it in my head before I
sucking lads off,
yes, while I have sucking off lads in my mind, if you make a couple of codec calls to Pliskin or Snake, you can find out a little bit of backstory on the character of Vamp, and you are basically told that Vamp is bisexual, and he was in a relationship with none other than the Marine commander Scott Dolph.
So that's why they call him Vamp. No, Vamp isn't for vampire, it's because he's bisexual. Rumor has it, Vamp was the lover of Scott Dolph, the Marine commandant who accidentally died 2 years ago. Scott Dolph was also the father of Fortune, the Dead Cell leader.
Fortune's old man? But Fortune and Vamp?
You noticed, eh? Not bad for a rookie.
All right.
As you say, Vamp and Fortune are very close. Not lovers, but very close.
Friends?
No, there's more to their relationship than that.
But Vamp was her father's lover.
Would it have been better if it was with her mother?
Well,
I don't really think they care what you think. Focus on the mission.
It's very strange then, because it would appear he's got this very close relationship with this man's daughter.
As far as I know anyway, it's not romantic with the daughter. It's more of kind of loyalty to...
It's almost a kind of a familial kind of thing, but he does refer to her as Queen, so it's very ambiguous. So there's definitely some kind of connection there, be it a physical one or an emotional one, but Vamp and Fortune are very close, and you can get that bit of context that Vamp was in a relationship with her father. Pretty strange, but in any case, that's optional dialogue. It's there for you if you want to go digging for it.
Which, by the way, the level of optional dialogue in this is absolutely ridiculous.
Completely and totally mental.
God. Also, just to give a shout out as well, if you are interested in seeing the secrets and the code calls and all optional stuff and all hidden things, there's a series by George Salonik on YouTube. He covers Metal Gears 1 or 2 to 4 with all those hidden details if you want to check it out.
Yeah, because there's no details in 5, we all know.
Bare bones.
Yeah, there's not even a full fucking game there. But
in
any case...
We'll get to that bridge, we'll cross it. Anyway.
Yep.
Yeah, so you get on to Colonel anyway, you're like...
Who are they? Dead Cell, I mean. They couldn't hit her no matter how hard they tried. And that vampire, too, it's like being in a nightmare you can't wake up from.
Jack, snap out of it.
And you, Rose, I can't believe you're on this mission. I keep thinking I'll wake up.
Raiden, this is real. And that's why you won't wake up.
But nothing seems real.
I've made up my mind to stay with you. Whether this is real or a bad dream, I'll keep watching you till it's over.
Thank you, Rose. And I won't let you be just a dream.
Jesus Christ almighty, what's going on?
What's going on?
There's a vampire, there's a woman.
The seals, they couldn't hit her no matter how hard they tried. And that vampire too, it's like being in a nightmare that you can't wake up from. And that's a fairly important piece of dialogue. So...
Remember that.
Colonel is like, Raiden, snap out of it, this is real. And Raiden's all, but nothing seems real. And then, of course, his emotional support girlfriend pops in and she's all like, oh, don't worry, I'm here and I'm looking out for you and I'll be here to give you all your emotional support and I'm definitely not up to anything. So don't worry about that.
I love you, Raiden.
Yeah. You're, despite the fact that you're probably more feminine than I am, I love you. So that's all well and good. We proceed into Strut C, where quickly we are introduced to the character of Peter Stillman. So Peter Stillman is a bomb expert.
Kid, this is the bomb disposal guy. Open any explosives disposal textbook and you'll see his name.
Just ancient history now.
Why did they bring you out of retirement then?
Because the terrorist group here includes one of my students, the Emperor of Explosives, Fatman. He built an atomic bomb when he was only 10. I created him in a sense.
And that's why you're here.
And he has a connection to one of the other members of Dead Cell, a character by the name of Fatman.
Previous alias, Fat Prick.
Yeah. Fat bollocks.
Fat bastard.
Yeah, so Fatman is a demolitions expert.
He was his protege.
Yeah, so he...
Sorry, Fatman was Stillman's protege.
That's right, yeah.
Just to clarify.
So there is a relationship between Fatman and Peter Stillman. The theme of this game is meme. So meme being a term that was coined by Richard Dawkins, I believe, in The Selfish Gene, as far as I'm aware. I think I'm on the ball there anyways, I'm not sure.
I will accept it, go on.
Yeah, but look, I know it was a term coined by Richard Dawkins anyways.
Yeah.
So a meme, in like today's understanding, anyone that hears meme, what they think of an image that has a bit of text. What a meme is an idea that can be passed on and taken up by the next generation or
your
whoever.
Values, or should I say your legacy that we pass on.
Yeah, that's
so
it.
The theme from the previous game is your gene.
Your genes.
I know Fatman well. I know how into his own aesthetics he is.
Signatures?
Yes. On every bomb he builds, he always leaves a trace of the cologne he uses. The sensor also picks up that particular scent spectrum.
Is that something he learned from you?
No, it was his own quirk. He wouldn't work by any rules except his own, and he followed them like a religion. And common sense wasn't one of his strong points. I thought I taught him everything I knew. I have no children of my own, and I thought I found a son in him. He had the right stuff, you know. There's something very unusual about an ability like that. Even at Indian Head, he got special treatment. I remember some people called him one of the fat cats. Maybe that's what started all this. I didn't teach him the most important thing I had to tell him. There are some things you have to pass on. The trick is to know which one. Right. All I taught him was skills. And now I have to stop him from using it to destroy us all.
You could say that the first game was all about nature, in that, your genes result in what your nature is, and the second game being memes being your nurture, being the ideas that you're exposed to and all that. So what you have in this game, like say in the last game, Big Boss was a character that was prevalent in conversation between all the characters because he was your genetic father, or rather, he was a clone. But essentially, so he was the father figure, the tyrannical father figure that was always referenced. And what you have a lot of in this game, and we'll get to more of this as it goes on, is you have like familial ties with characters, but rather than there being a genetic relationship between these characters, there are mimetic relationships between these characters. And the character of Peter Stillman and his relationship to the character of Fatman is a mimetic one, in that Peter Stillman was a bomb disposal expert who basically took this character of Fatman under his wing and taught him everything that he knew. So there is that kind of father-son relationship there, albeit it's not genetic.
He loved them all the same anyway.
Loved them all the same, but he turned out to be a little bollocks, as, that's generally the case with...
Should have given him a belt a bit more often, but there you go.
Yeah, that's it. Spare the rod, spoil the child.
Yeah, anyway.
Moving on.
Yeah, so Stillman tells you all about Fatman. He tells you that there's bombs being planted on the struts.
The entire big shell is wired with explosives, and the whole thing is that the SEALs and any intervention by the government is kind of being hampered by this threat of, if ye come near us and ye basically try and interfere in whatever it is that we're up to here, we will blow up the entire big shell facility. And Fatman, being the demolitions expert, is the reason for that. So Stillman was brought in to counteract him. At this point, once you meet Peter Stillman, the character of Pliskin arrives in. He joins you in this discussion with Peter Stillman all about Fatman and all about the bombs. But they quickly get to the point where they're like, look, we all have to work together, get rid of these bombs, we'll have to deal with Fatman at some point, so on and so forth. So that's when yourself and Pliskin have to go around both shells of the big shell and defuse all of the bombs.
Which is done by Stillman giving you a little coolant.
Yeah,
you get to fire at the bombs.
Yeah, you get a coolant spray from...
A can of Lynx.
Basically, yeah. That freezes the detonator on these bombs. So the mission that you're tasked with to start off is you have to go around the big shell with a sensor that will show on the radar a kind of a green mist where the bomb it'll be somewhere
in that sort of area. The player has to find it
in the general vicinity. So
where is it? Find it yourself, for the love of God.
For the love of Christ.
I'll give you instructions by codec from here. Good luck, kid. Bomb disposal is a face-off with your own mortality. Don't let the fear get to you. When you give in to the fear, the darkness comes.
You have to do all that anyways and go around defusing the bombs, and during your bomb defusal mission you cross paths with no one other than Olga Gerlukovich, who I kind of glazed over her in part one. She is the daughter of Sergei Gerlukovich, who was...
He was the commander of the Russian troops that stormed the tanker at the start.
Yeah, the Russian mercenaries who Ocelot was in cahoots with up until he betrayed them all and shot down Gerlukovich, stole the Metal Gear Ray prototype, tore off into the night like the slippery serpent that he is.
And it's just an important detail, this is unbeknownst to Olga at the time.
Yeah, because Olga, you faced Olga on the deck of the tanker, and she was the game's first boss fight. It was alluded to that she was pregnant at the time. Well, sorry, it wasn't alluded to. You outright heard her having a conversation over the radio with her father, Sergei Galukovich, who was telling her that she now had to withdraw the battlefield because she was pregnant, and he didn't want to see any harm come to her because she was carrying his grandchild.
Yeah. And then the player comes along with more incentive to bait her.
Yes. Yeah, you come along, you cross paths with her, and obviously there's a boss fight there. The only weapon that you have when you're playing a snake at that point is the
SOCOM, is it?
No, the M9 tranquilizer gun. So you riddle her full of tranquilizers, which is questionable. I don't know, would that harm a child in the womb? But in...
Well, what we see in Metal Gear 4, maybe.
Oh, yeah.
But anyway, yeah. So Olga Galukovich is... she signed up along with the Sons of Liberty, along with the Russian military, who are the sort of boys in the way.
Yeah, yes.
Ones are fighting.
So all those Galukovich soldiers who raided the tanker in the first chapter of the game, they make up the soldiers who are now patrolling the big shell, and those are the guards that you have to deal with in this again. So it's the same bunch of lads.
They're back again.
Yeah, they are being led this time by Olga Galukovich since the untimely death of her father, Sergei Galukovich.
Killed under mysterious circumstances.
Yep.
Damn you! Sergei, looks like you were long overdue for retirement.
And when you first cross paths with her, you cross paths with her on Strut D, the roof of Strut D, where the Harrier jet is parked. You come across her, and she's having a conversation with a character who we haven't yet been introduced to.
I've taken care of that annoying fly. What's the situation over there?
Puzzling. I saw a man dressed like a ninja just now.
Ninja?
It's the only way to describe it. A kind of cyborg ninja, complete with a sword.
What?
But it's been alluded that he identifies as Solid Snake.
Yeah, we've been told that the leader of this terrorist revolt is Solid Snake. What the game would have us believe is that she's having a conversation with this guy who definitely isn't Snake, because we've just met Snake. But in any case, she's having this conversation.
No, that's Pliskin.
Yeah.
Try and keep up here, PJ. But for the love of God.
Yes.
Yeah, so she's on the blower with Solid Snake, quote unquote.
Yeah.
And she drops an important detail about this supposed cyborg ninja.
Yeah, she is saying that she has crossed paths with a type of cyborg ninja, complete with a sword. And there's
the whole package.
Yeah, so we're like, hang on now, but the cyborg ninja, Grey Fox, he died. He was stamped into the ground by Liquid Snake in the previous game. So how can that be the case?
Like I said, it's setting up all the little pieces, dropping breadcrumbs for the player to kind of pick up on. It's really emphasizing the whole notion of familiarity.
So we see Olga again. Olga is returning. Raiden tries to hold her up, but she's having none of it, and she does a kind of a big leap, a big cool 90s movie leap off the side of the thing and disappears into the night. So it's like, okay, right.
During the day.
Yeah, yeah. That's
in the night, during the day.
During the day. That's Olga Galukovich's reintroduction.
So you continue along anyway to disarm these bombs with the coolant. Yeah. And as you go along the way, Stillman keeps contacting you, telling you how the positions of these bombs are a little off.
Yeah.
Remember that now.
Good man yourself. That's it.
Yeah, because you give him a call every time you disarm one, and every time you disarm one, he's kind of like, hang on now, something's kind of up here.
Something's not right, yeah, because if you wanted to destroy this entire facility, supposedly there's like key structural points that you would place these bombs, and these bombs aren't where they should be if your intention was to take out the entire facility. So he's smelling a rat. He's like, there's something not right here, but look, we best just keep disarming the bloody things, because that's what we got to do. I mean, they're dangerous where they are, but they're not any great threat. So look,
it's not going to topple the structure. Yeah. All the while as well, Pliskin is doing it on his end as well, on the other strut.
Yeah, Pliskin's off on the other strut, disarming the bombs, so on and so forth. Once you get all of the bombs disarmed.
This is Pliskin. I've located the last C4.
Is that it?
I'm about to freeze it. Then...
Wait! Pliskin!
Peter Stillman's whole fear is realized once you disarm the final bomb.
The big ones were rigged to be activated when all the baby C4s went offline. Right, the one in Shell 1 should be counting down too. Hurry!
What happens is another countdown gets triggered. Fatman planted a trap for Peter Stillman in the bombs that he laid out in kind of obvious enough locations. What his intention was, he was going to trap Stillman into disarming these bombs, and then the real bombs start to tick down. It is during this conversation with Stillman that you're told that you're after springing the trap.
Pete, get the hell out of there.
There's less than 30 seconds left. It's too late.
No!
Pliskin, get away from Strut H as fast as you can.
Pete!
He's basically screwed. He's now in a position that he can't escape the blast of the proper bomb.
Right! Keep your distance. Use the spray from as far away as possible.
Me?
You can do it. I know that.
I'm not so sure.
But I am. Do it. I know you can.
I think his words is Fatman has my number.
And sure
fat
enough,
bastard has gotten me.
That fat bastard. He basically tells you, okay, look, you have to go back to Strut A and you have to disarm the proper bomb on that end. It's too late for me. I played into this motherfucker's hand. He wanted to prove to the world that he could outsmart me and he could best me at my own game. And he has done.
Indeed he did.
Yeah, the bomb blows up. That's the end of Peter Stillman.
During the codec call, the whole thing kind of hazes off and you just hear a big massive scream.
Yeah, big old scream out of Stillman. Old Stillman is brown bread. He's done in by. At this point, you make your way back to Strut A. You go down to disarm that bomb. You do so. You get on the blower to the Colonel. The Colonel tells you, okay, for now the bomb threat has been neutralized. Great stuff. And then upon trying to leave the site of the bomb, Strut A,
which, by the way, is where you come in when you initially start the chapter.
Where you come in at the start. You meet Fortune, and you have a little boss fight with Fortune. And this boss fight, the setting where this boss fight takes place, well, I remember, like we were talking about with regards to the misinformation leading up to the release of this game, in one of the trailers, you actually see this boss fight, but the boss fight, from the perspective of the trailer, you see the character is swapped out, and the game is basically presenting itself to you as you fight this boss fight as Solid Snake.
Yeah, going back to the point made in the first part, they did everything they could to keep it under wraps, even going as far as to swap out the models.
Well,
cheeky buy.
Keeping it under wraps is one thing, but outright lying to you.
It is, but I kind of like that as well.
I'm not criticizing it, but call a spade, they were lying to us. I think what it achieves as a consequence of the lying is great, but I couldn't argue with someone if they weren't terribly happy about it.
That's fair enough.
It's kind of like the practice that happens nowadays with like modern cars. The first thing that springs to mind, we actually saw one yesterday. We were driving past the petrol station, and what was pulled up at a petrol station? Only the new Toyota Supra.
Ooh.
And you'd look at it and you go, oh cool. But the crap thing about the new Toyota Supra is it isn't a Toyota. It is a BMW. It's a BMW engine. It is a BMW chassis. But it's got Toyota badges on it and it says Supra on the back of it. So you're buying one thing but being sold another, if you get me. And that was kind of the same way with this game, where you wanted another game where you were playing a stealthy action game as Solid Snake, but that's not what you got. That's what was advertised.
Metal Gear Solid 2 is like the new Supra.
So there you go, yeah.
Just to get that point across.
The new Supra is a perfect analogy for Metal Gear Solid 2.
A dud.
It did. Well, if you bought the new Supra and
enough about the Supra
and you liked it anyway,
get back to the game.
That's the game, because I happen to like this anyway.
So look, you get into it with Fortune, who initially thinks you are another character.
Yeah.
Until you reveal yourself.
Yeah, she's under the belief that you're Solid Snake because she seems to be aware of the fact that Solid Snake is here. So she comes down there thinking, okay, I'm going to face off against Solid Snake, because she is under the belief that Solid Snake murdered her father, who was the Marine commander from the tanker incident.
I can't tell you how happy I am that you were alive after all. I knew this moment would come. Show yourself and finish me, like you finished off my father. Otherwise, you'll be the one to die.
Oh, crap. But that wasn't the case. It was Ocelot, in fact, who done in poor old Fortune's father.
That's not him. This could be interesting. You've seen the fires of hell, haven't you?
Previously on Metal Gear.
Fortune's father gets done in by Ocelot, and Snake gets the blame.
Maybe you can give me death. My name is Fortune, lucky in war and nothing else. And without a death to call my own. Hurry, kill me, please.
Yeah, she figures out anyway, you're not Solid Snake, but regardless, she's like, maybe this fella can do me in.
Yeah, and actually she has a nice telling little bit of dialogue there. When she has a look at the character of Raiden, she says, "You've seen the fires of hell, haven't you?" Because apparently, you know, real recognizes real. But as far as we're aware, Raiden's a rookie. So it's basically like, I don't think so. If he's seen the fires of hell, according to him, it's been in a VR simulation, so I don't know.
It does brilliantly setting up a lot of stuff anyway. For its reveal by the end.
Yeah, that's it.
You get into it with Fortune anyway. She's like, maybe you can kill me while I try to kill you.
Yeah. So she's firing off the railgun at you, and you're taking cover behind all these different like crates and boxes and containers, and you're trying to hit her. You can't, because, you know, that's her whole thing.
Yeah, as we saw earlier, nothing will hit her.
Yeah, you're just waiting for the lift to return so you can flee the fight, because she can't be killed. But when the lift does return, it returns with Vamp, no less. And there is a bit of a conversation there between them, and she's like, this lad couldn't kill me either, so on and so forth. And we're seeing more of this close-knit relationship that Vamp and Fortune have, and they're speaking to each other. And
they do talk about how Fatman's gone off the rails as well.
Yeah.
An important thing.
Basically saying, oh look, Fatman's gone off doing his own thing now. I don't know what we're going to do with him. It's like, we're going to have to deal with him, I suppose. It's at this point then Raiden springs from behind one of the crates, and he's like, right, I'm going to take a pot shot now at Fortune in the hopes that I'm going to kill her. So he fires at Fortune, and the bullet swerves away from Fortune and hits Vamp right between the eyes. We're being led down the garden path to believe that that's it for Vamp. Vamp is dead. He's after getting a bullet. And she is very upset by this. So she's all like, oh Christ, no, that death was meant for me. And she's very cut up by the fact that her friend and former lover of her owl lad is dead.
Just remember that's going on. There's a lot of drama.
Yeah, a lot of weird old drama.
Raiden takes this opportunity to kind of get up behind her with the gun.
Yeah, he's the gun to the back of her head, and
but doesn't pull the trigger.
He doesn't pull the trigger, but I'm wondering, like, would the gun jam or something? Because if the grenades won't explode around her, it would seem that Fortune
he doesn't know that.
Fortune is unkillable, it would seem, and Raiden just seems to have accepted this, and she's in bits crying, going, no one can kill me, and now my buddy's dead.
So he takes this opportunity to escape up the elevator.
Yep. And
Fortune's down there with Vamp in her arms, crying away. And as far as the player and Raiden are concerned at this moment, he's dead. But after a second, a bit of air exhales, revealing that he's alive.
He's grand, yeah. He wakes up and he's like, there's no need for sorrow, Queen. I died once already. I can't die twice. So he's still a threat. But at this point, Raiden has left up the elevator, and we are told by the Colonel, but Fatman has been in contact with them, and he basically says that he wants to face Raiden on the roof of Strut D, where you cross paths with Olga Gorlukovich not so long ago. You got to go there now, Raiden, and there's a countdown timer of 300 seconds, and you have to go and you have to face Fatman. That's what he wants, so we have to play ball, because otherwise he's going to blow the place up. So this is where we get to our next boss fight with regards to the character of Fatman.
Our introduction to the character as well.
Our introduction to the character, yeah. So we get there and we meet this man who is as his name might imply,
if you would believe,
a big fat bastard on roller skates going around the place with some class of a cocktail in
I think it's wine in a glass.
Which he's wine?
Yeah, drinking with a straw.
Some kind of a fruity old drink anyways. So there's more of our kind of a flamboyant crazy bosses kind of theme still going strong anyway. You get there and you have a little bit of an altercation about Peter Stillman. He's basically kind of going, oh, you killed Stillman, you prick. And you're like, you had nothing of his courage or his talent. Yeah, he had your number. And Fatman's all like, nah, sure, I bested him. I killed him. Like, he's yammering on that he's an artist and shiting on about how much he loves explosives and how he wants to go down in history as the greatest demolitions expert who ever lived.
To lean into the theme of meme, this would be his legacy.
He is a character who actually knows far more than he's letting on, but he actually is indifferent to the grand schemes.
We'll see another bit of breadcrumbing drops as well, is that Raiden says you'll never get that 30 billion.
Let's drink to Stillman, shall we? If you destroy the big shell, you'll never collect your ransom.
Ransom? What are you talking about?
$30 billion in cash.
Huh? So that's what's going on, huh?
What the hell are you talking about?
Oh, you'll know soon enough. And I could care less what they plan to do. My ambitions are much more simple. To be the most famous bomber of them all.
That's right.
And then Fatman's like, what are you talking about?
Yeah, because the as you were told by the colonel at the start of the game, the terrorists, part of their demands, they're holding the president ransom for, is $30 billion in cash. And once Raiden puts that to Fatman, he's like, oh, is that what's going on? Is it, yeah? Basically kind of going like, I know nothing about that. You're talking out your arse here. And he's like, and look, in any case, I don't care. I was involved in this so as I could prove that I was better than Peter Stillman, and I've proved that, and I don't really care now, and if I get done in here, I'm going to have my legacy.
Set his name in stone.
Yeah, so this mental fat bastard bomber on roller skates who is just concerned with his legacy about being the best. He considers himself to be an artist. He's a kind of a tortured artist, lunatic, fat bastard on roller skates, if you will.
Some fellas get kicked out of an Austrian art school. Some people just turn into big fat bastards on rollerblades.
Big fat bastard lunatic bombers.
There seems to be a trend here with failing artists.
Yeah. But,
so we initiate the old boss fight. He just to kind of...
Did I ever tell you that I dropped out of art school twice?
I'll see you later. Is that a loaded gun at the table? Yeah, so we initiate the boss fight, and to add a sort of fun and factor, he has planted bombs around the Harrier for you to disarm while engaging in combat with him. Well, rolling around.
The Harrier's not actually there at that point.
Is it not there?
The Harrier's out and about, yeah.
Oh, that's right, yeah. Well, yeah. Where the Harrier would be, yeah.
Where the Harrier normally would be.
Yeah.
So
to get this little fun boss fight, bit tense. I think we were playing it there yesterday, and neither one of us caught on the fact that there was a bomb right there, and left it to about like 0.3 seconds before you managed to disarm it.
Yeah, I was playing on hard mode, and on hard mode the timer is that bit shorter, so I was being a bit liberal with dealing with the bombs, and I managed to get to it like with a fucking nanosecond to spare, which was nice.
Two sets of eyes, and none of us copped it.
That's it. Like, and
I had the licky boy next to me. I had Enzo. He was distracting me.
Yeah, and I was just knackered. I was just absolutely wrecked.
So anyway, you bait him anyway.
Yeah, you beat him, and he basically tells you, well, look, there's another bomb. I've just armed it. You're going to have to deal with that. I'm going to die here and start my legacy. I'm going to go down in history as being better than Peter Stillman. That's all I care about. So on and so forth.
Pulls out a little detonator, arms it.
Yeah, arms it. He dies. Where the bomb is, it's underneath the fat bastard. How he actually, like, I don't know, did he lay it like an egg or something? But this huge bomb is underneath him once you move his dead body. And once you move his dead body, he drops the dog tag of Peter Stillman. He has that. You disarm that bomb, and that is the end of the bomb disposal sequence. And that is the character of Fatman dealt with.
Laugh and grow fat.
So after that, you were basically like, okay, I don't really know what to do now, and who gets onto you but the colonel, and he's all like, okay, look, you have to go back to trying to rescue the president now.
The cyborg ninja shows up.
Yeah, the cyborg ninja that was referenced by Olga earlier on shows up immediately after this codec call, and kind of says, look, I'm neither enemy nor friend, which is echoing the exact same thing that Grey Fox said to you in the first game. So the cyborg ninja is being very cryptic and saying, look, I'm your only lead right now with you don't know what to do. I'm willing to give you information to point you in the right direction. If you want to find the president, you're going to have to find a man called Richard Ames. Richard Ames is a member of the DIA, I believe. He was there as well, and he is one of the hostages who is being held in the core of Shell 1. So you're basically told you're going to have to go in there, make contact with Ames. Ames knows where the president is being held. The cyborg ninja goes on to tell you that you are going to have to disguise yourself as an enemy soldier. You're going to have to get an AK. You're going to have to suit up as a soldier, go in there. Play the part. Being incredibly cryptic, telling you that, you know, there's more going on here, but you're not yet trusted to be given any of this information with regards to what's actually going on. So you have no choice in the matter, only to believe what this ninja is saying. You have no leads. The cyborg ninja drops the bombshell that there is a nuclear threat, whereas before you were under the belief that the big shell is wired with explosives, and if they blow it up, there's going to be a big environmental problem because all of the chemicals and toxins will cause a huge environmental disaster. But the cyborg ninja tells you that there is actually a nuclear threat as well. The black case that the president had with him is something referred to as the football.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure that's a term that makes sense with regards to the detonation of nukes or something.
I think it actually is a real thing, yeah.
I think so.
Why did they have to bring the football along? To a decontamination plant of all places.
But they did have to. Because, after all, the big shell is the farthest thing from a cleanup plant there is.
What?
Dead Cell didn't have to bring a nuke along with them. It was right here to begin with. Nothing in this affair is what it seems.
A cover-up? But why? For what?
For Metal Gear that is housed here.
There is a nuclear weapon here, and Raiden asks, well, why the hell did these terrorists bring a nuke with them? The cyborg ninja tells you they didn't bring a nuke with them. The nuke was already here. This entire facility is basically camouflage to house the development of the new Metal Gear. So if we remember the whole first chapter of the game, there's a new Metal Gear being developed by the Marines and so on and so forth. But apparently there is a newer incarnation of Metal Gear that is being developed here at the Big Shell.
Metal Gear?
The very same. Bipedal nuke-capable vehicle Shadow Moses Infamy. This place is the R&D center for its newest incarnation.
What the hell is going on?
Better ask Ames the rest.
The terrorists, their main thing was to get control of said nuclear weapon. The president was kind of like collateral damage, and they needed his biometric data to activate the nuclear weapon that is basically going to be launched by this new Metal Gear that is being developed here. So now the stakes are higher, and with all this knowledge, you have to now go and sniff out this new Metal Gear and find Richard Ames, find out where the president is, and try and get this whole terrible situation sorted out. So,
my Christ.
With that, you enter disguised as an enemy soldier into the Shell 1 core.
After obtaining yourself a little AK-47U.
Yeah, you pick up you get your weapon that complements the outfit that the ninja gives you. You get in there, you meet Richard Ames.
Who told you about me?
An informer calling himself Mr. X, dressed like a ninja.
I see. Take this thing off me, will you? I'm Richard Ames.
Secret Service?
And he gives you the lowdown on what's going on. He references an organization by the name of the Lale Lule Lo.
No, I was set in by the Lale Lule Lo, just like you.
What?
Just a messenger from the Lale Lule Lo.
The Lale Lule Lo!
Which was something that we heard for the first time in the tanker. Scott Dolph says it. People used to kind of meme on this one with the whole kind of like, oh, Lale Lule Lo, doesn't that sound funny? But there is an explanation for it, and we will get to that when it becomes relevant.
Haven't they told you anything? The entire thing was planned. The oil spill, the tanker accident that caused it, everything. The Big Shell was built specifically for the development of a new Metal Gear model. The inspection tour was to check its progress.
So he gives you the low. Well, see, another thing as well is Raiden goes, he mentions the 30 billion as well again. And Ames is just like, what are you talking about?
Ransom?
$30 billion in cash.
What are you babbling about? The nuclear strike is not a threat. It's been the objective all along.
That's it. So once you find Ames in the core of Shell 1, you're basically like, okay, well, what's going on with all this lark with, the ransom and all this kind of stuff? And he says to you, hang on, I know what you're talking about, ransom. There is no ransom. Like, the nuclear strike is the objective. They don't want the money. They want to make this nuclear strike. But they have a high-profile hostage in the president. So as they have us over a barrel that way, there is no ransom. So now you've been told by two different sources that the story that the colonel gave you at the start.
What are their demands?
$30 billion.
$30 billion? What makes them think they can get that much?
This $30 billion in cash is bullshit. There is no ransom. So it's like, okay, what the hell is going on here? So the plot keeps thickening as it goes on. when you came in there, you just thought, okay, this is another hostage situation. They have the president, and I need to extract the president and save the day. But we've since found out that, no, these terrorists, they're here because they want to hijack this new Metal Gear that's under development, and they want to use it to launch a nuke for some reason, and we're not sure as to why. He goes on to ask Ames then about the leader of the terrorists, because he's in disbelief at this point. He's like, apparently this guy is Solid Snake. I thought Solid Snake was dead. He died with that tanker 2 years ago.
I thought Snake was dead.
Solid Snake did die. But he's also here in the shell. Either he survived or there are two of them.
Two of them?
And that's impossible.
Ames says, Solid Snake did die, but he's also here in the shell. So either he survived or there are two of them. And at one point in time, there was two of them. There was Liquid Snake and there was Solid Snake. But as we know, Liquid Snake is in fact dead. If you make a few phone calls to Rose earlier on in the game, she looks into the story that Snake is dead. And apparently they recovered Snake's body. However, the body of Snake that was recovered, the right arm was missing.
Ding, ding, ding!
And who do we know that had a right arm replaced? Who do we know that has recently had a right arm?
Who's got himself a new arm?
Who's got a new arm? Only the slippery serpent Ocelot, no less.
Speaking of the devil, he shows up.
Yeah.
Along with the supposed Solid Snake.
That's it. So you're in the shell and you're speaking to this Richard Ames character, this DIA agent, who, there's also a bit of lore involved with this. The support character from the first game, 1998's Metal Gear Solid, the support character of Nastasha Romanenko, the Russian nuclear weapons specialist.
This is Nastasha Romanenko. A pleasure to work with you, Solid Snake.
That character and Richard Ames were a married couple at one point, and in the events following the Shadow Moses incident from the original game, she went on to write a book called In the Darkness of Shadow Moses, which basically chronicles the events of the first game. Raiden references this book to Colonel Campbell, because Colonel Campbell was the commanding officer from the first game. Any mention of Solid Snake, and the Colonel seems to be like, no, terrorist, he's a bad egg, let's not be under any illusion, this lad's a prick, basically. And he's like, but I read all about you and Snake in the Darkness of Shadow Moses, the book written by Nastasha Romanenko from the first game, to which the Colonel replies, I don't give a damn what that piece of trash says, do you get me? So he's very down on any mention of Snake. He's like, nah, fuck that guy, basically. We'll come to that. That's another breadcrumb.
So as we're talking with Ames,
Ocelot
and Solid Snake, quote unquote, are outside the door, which you kind of eavesdrop using the little microphone thing you pick up earlier in the game.
Yeah, they're having a conversation, and as they're having the conversation, what happens only doesn't fucking the arm that Ocelot has, the same arm that possessed him in the tanker incident, that starts playing up again.
It's happening again. This damn right arm. Liquid! It's almost as if it's having its revenge.
This guy, this supposed Solid Snake, is asking, it's like, it's happening again. Do you know how much money we spent on that arm in Leon? The best transplant team in the entire world. And he's like, there's something going on. It's like, maybe that man's presence. And we're not being told who that man is yet. And then Olga shows up, and she's like, what's the story with that cyborg ninja? Someone's got to know more about this. It's like, look, we don't know. And we see there's a bit of a tension between Ocelot and Olga, because she's basically like, you left my father to die. Little does she know, he actually killed the father. And once again, Snake has gotten the blame for killing not only Fortune's father, but Olga's father as well. So everyone's out to get poor old Snake.
Well, he did nothing wrong.
He did nothing wrong, but sure, look, no good deed goes unpunished, as it were. So
soon after the conversation ends, Ocelot comes into the room.
Take care of the president before they launch the nuke.
We're disguised as an enemy soldier at this point in time, and
you pull off the little thing around his mouth and his head. So Ocelot's like, what's going on here? Why did you remove his yolks?
What do you think you're doing?
I asked him to remove these. I'm ill, you see.
Yeah, Ames is
like, well, I'm an ill man, you see.
I'm ill, you see, in the most convincing...
I'm sick.
In the most convincing tone what you did ever hear.
I always knew that the DIA turned out second-rate liars.
What are you talking about?
No need for denials. We know what you are, Colonel Ames. They knew that the president was planning to betray them, so they sent you in to keep tabs on him.
Am I right?
You.
Sorry, Colonel. You failed to carry out your duties.
You'll never escape the Lalilulelo.
Is that so?
Ocelot calls him out in his lie.
Ocelot catches him in the lie.
He points the gun at Ames.
Ames is alluding to, like, you can't escape the Lalilulelo, you must know that. And he's like, oh, is that so? So Ames is alluding to this organisation. He's like, oh, alright, okay, look, you're crossing paths with this organisation who you can't best. Ocelot's all like, oh yeah, well, whatever. And points the gun at him, only for Ames to be struck down with a heart attack.
What the?
You tricked me. I understand now. Ocelot.
Not unlike the Darker Chief and the Armsec President Kenneth Baker from the first game.
You? Which team are you with? You know who he is.
No, he is not one of mine.
Identify yourself.
So more echoes of the first game.
We meet at last.
The cyborg ninja then shows up, drops down from the ceiling, and takes a swing at Ocelot's arm, but Ocelot dodges this time, you know. Fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice.
Hurry, get away!
But you died!
The cyborg ninja is now here, and he's all like, looks to Raiden. He's like, right, get out of here, you. I'll sort this out. Ocelot's looking on. He's all like, but you died. And everyone starts shooting, but the cyborg ninja does what the cyborg ninja does and starts deflecting bullets with the sword. And Raiden gets the fuck out of Dodge. So you gotta flee. Your disguise is fucked now, so you can't disguise yourself as a soldier, as an enemy soldier anymore. And you get out of the Shell 1 core, and at that point you have to make your way to the Shell 1 to 2 connecting bridge. You've been told now by Ames where the president is. I think we might have glazed over that. The upshot of the information that you got about the president from Ames is he has betrayed us.
You said the password entry into the black case had to be made by the president willingly.
That's right.
So this means the president is cooperating with them.
It would have to be, yes.
He's not, in fact, a hostage. He is actually in cahoots with the terrorists for some reason.
Why?
Probably tired of being a puppet, but it wasn't a smart move to betray us.
A puppet?
He is in the core of Shell 2. That's where the president is. You're going to have to make your way there. So that's what you now have to do as Raiden. You have to make your way to Shell 2, get to the core, and ask the president what the fuck is going on. So on the way to Shell 2, you get onto this bridge that's riddled with explosives, and you have to disarm those explosives before you can cross the bridge. You get back in contact with Pliskin, who has now brought his buddy into the equation. And who is Pliskin's buddy? Only
Raiden, let me introduce you to my partner, Otacon.
Otacon?
Hey, Raiden. Nice to meet you.
Otacon.
I know what you're thinking.
It keeps coming back to Shadow Moses. And now this Otacon.
Coincidence, that's all.
Yep. Everybody knows what's going on here now. It's Snake and Otacon. So Snake and Otacon are in their chopper after you defuse all of the bombs. Who shows his face anyways? Only the leader of the terrorists. This
Leaning
guy
up against the wall in a big old coat, gazing on, looking at Raiden in the distance.
I've been waiting for you. A messenger from the Patriots. Where do I know him from?
There's a small bit of recognition on. He says, that man, I know him.
Where do I know you from? He's looking at Raiden, and he seems to recognize Raiden somehow. Raiden, who is, this rookie soldier. So the leader of the terrorists is acknowledging him and seems to know him from somewhere.
So you're the boss around here?
No, not just around here. I'm the boss to surpass Big Boss himself. Solid Snake. No, that is not Solid Snake.
In comes the fucking chopper being flown by Otacon, and who's hanging out the side of it with his fucking gun? Only Pliskin.
What a pleasant surprise, brother. Save it. You were mine. Don't say you've forgotten me, Snake.
The game is officially acknowledging now that this character of Pliskin is in fact Solid Snake.
Snake? Right, take cover!
Snake opens fire at him. He's like, fucking stop impersonating him, basically, like, stop impersonating me, essentially. One of the C4s on the bridge explodes. The cape that he was using goes up in a blaze.
Stop impersonating him!
You get this fucking sequence. It's just one of the coolest sequences ever.
Brother, I'm a whole different game from Liquid.
He's got this powered exoskeleton that he's wearing, this kind of this machine suit, which is something that obviously this is another Big Boss clone. This character is a character by the name of Solidus Snake, who is the former president of the United States, George Sears. That's who this guy actually is. But now, as the after credit sequence from the original game told us, Ocelot was in cahoots with the president of the United States, Solidus Snake. So it turns out, the president of the United States during that time was none other than another Big Boss clone. So who Ocelot, he was actually supposedly loyal to this guy.
So here we are now. The big boy who we thought was Solid Snake, quote unquote, is Solidus Snake.
Solidus Snake, and Pliskin is actually basically copped to the fact that he is Solid Snake. So here are another two Big Boss clones facing off against each other. You get the altercation on the bridge. The exoskeleton, I reckon that the reason that this character, Solidus Snake, has that exoskeleton, it's not something that's actually addressed. Maybe it's addressed in an optional code I call, but I can't remember ever crossing paths with it. But as Liquid alluded to in the tanker sequence, the clones of Big Boss were drowning in time, basically acknowledging that they all have shortened lifespans.
The world needs only one Big Boss!
Fallen to bits, guys.
Yeah. So I reckon that the reason that the character of Solid Snake has this exoskeleton, this powered exoskeleton, not unlike that of the cyborg ninjas, is probably because of the advanced aging, and to compensate for that accelerated aging process that all the clones of Big Boss sooner or later succumb to. Snake at this point in time is unaffected by this, but it would seem that Solid Snake, despite the fact that he should probably be the youngest of the three, because he's the perfected version. He's neither solid nor liquid.
He's apparently the best and worst of Big Boss.
Yeah.
And as his name alludes, Solidus is apparently a transitioning stage between a solid and a liquid.
Yeah. So he's referred to as a well-balanced masterpiece. Another product of
Whereas Liquid and kind of Solid Snake try to kind of distance themselves from their clone father, this fella looks to not only be Big Boss, but surpass him in every way.
He looks more like Big Boss than either of them, because obviously his accelerated aging has kicked in, and any image that we saw of Big Boss from the 1987 Metal Gear and the when did Metal Gear 2 come out? 1990 maybe? I don't know, but anyway, it was from Metal Gear 1 and Metal Gear 2. That guy, whenever you've seen Big Boss in that, he was this older man. The character of Solid the Snake looks like that older man now. So basically, this guy is a spitting image of Big Boss. We know that he's Solid the Snake, the former president.
Cat's out of the bag, lads.
Of the United States. We get into this altercation with this motherfucker. There's a bit of a battle there on the bridge until Vamp shows up with the Harrier. Solidus leaps onto the back of the Harrier. He lets a roar at Snake. The world needs only one Big Boss. Snake and Otacon, they throw you a Stinger missile launcher, and they're all like, right, look, you're going to have to shoot down that fucking Harrier because the chopper that we're in can't stand up to it.
It's no good.
Yeah, we'll be killed, basically. So then we get a boss fight between Raiden and this Harrier jet being flown by Solidus and Vamp.
So you're letting off the Stinger missiles anyway, firing at this little bastard flying around the gaff.
Yeah, you're trying to take out this bloody Harrier jet now with a fucking Stinger missile launcher until such a time that you prevail. The Harrier goes down. What leaps out of the ocean as the Harrier is falling out of the sky? But the Metal Gear Ray prototype from the tanker incident leaps from the ocean, catches the Harrier in its maw, in its maw, if you will, and it's floating there in the water until Vamp leaps from the Harrier and runs across the water like Jesus Christ, basically.
Runs across the water, okay? Leaps across it, then proceeds to run up the side of a strut.
it all ties into this whole thing of like, what the fuck is going on here? Like, here's a man who can walk up walls, run on water,
sucking lads off.
Sucks lads off.
What kind of power is that?
Yeah. That's
yeah, like it. Like I said, I don't think zany. Zany is too strong a word. It's certainly surreal, outlandish.
I would say it is surreal.
Surreal, yes.
But again, depending on who you ask, it's all a matter of where you draw the line in the sand with regards to this stuff. But that all happens afterwards when the smoke is cleared and once Metal Gear Ray fecks off with the now destroyed Harrier and Solidus Snake in its maw.
Who had his eye damaged?
They got my eye!
Yes, in the battle, Solidus Snake lost an eye. Now it is the opposite eye. Is it the left eye or the right eye? It's
he loses the left eye. Big Boss loses the right eye.
That's right. Yeah. So just to even further hammer home this whole kind of Big Boss comparison, now Solidus Snake also has an eye patch, much like his genetic progenitor, Big Boss. So that's all well and good. You now have a dialogue with Snake and Otacon going like, oh, why in the fuck didn't you just tell me you were Snake?
Are you the Snake? They said you were dead.
No, not me. There are still too many things I need to do.
Snake, you're a legend, and that's why I need to ask you this.
Legend? A legend is nothing but fiction. Someone tells it, someone else remembers, everybody passes it on.
And there's a bit of back and forth there anyways, but now everyone's on the same page and it's like, look, tell us the story with regards to what became of, the whole tanker thing. You're brought up to speed with regards to...
There's mention as well to the VR mission, that there's a VR mission made of the tanker.
Yeah, the tanker incident was...
And like fucking Snake then alludes to like, oh, you won't see the truth of it, huh?
We were set up, we were lured out there with promise that there was a Metal Gear being developed there, but we just walked right into their trap. And this whole thing was a setup so that they could, in fact, build this offshore decontamination facility so they could mask the development of this new Metal Gear that's being built here.
It's a ruse, lads.
So the whole thing is a ruse. At this point, you're like, well, okay, we're going to have to go so and see what the president has to say for himself because, as we know, the president is in cahoots with the terrorists. We then go to the president in the core of Shell 2. We are greeted by Olga, who is on the blower to Solidus. And there's a conversation there about Olga's involvement, how she wants revenge.
Solid Snake.
For killing the owl fella.
It was said she doesn't know at this point what actually happened, so as far as she's aware, Solid Snake is the one who killed her father.
Yeah, she's going on basically about as well how she doesn't trust Ocelot because basically, again, Ocelot left her father to die. So on and so forth. Little does she know, he actually fucking murdered the man. Yeah.
Going on about the president anyway. How, is he protected? The floor leading to the president is booby-trapped by an electric floor.
Yeah, so you basically have to repeat the entire thing that you did from the first game. You have to use a remote control missile. You go and you get your fucking remote control missile. You fire your fucking rocket. You blow up the circuit board thing that's controlling the electric floor. You go in then and you greet the president. It is upon meeting the president that the game starts to show its hand as to what's going on. And now things start to get...
They start to turn, lads.
Bit fucking trippy and a bit... Like, this is just the start of it now. So, like this...
This is scratching the surface of what we're getting into.
Yeah.
This will make your head spin as is, but like when we get down to the line, Jesus almighty.
We're not going to have time to cover it in this part. We're already an hour and a half.
Oh no, I always knew part 2 would be covering just what we're going to be covering. Part 2 now is just kind of leading up to it.
Yeah, so all this part of the podcast is just covering the events of the Big Shell, but say the surreal, the meta, and the crazy shit, that's the stuff we'll be getting into in the third part. But we will go as far as to say that once you contact the president initially, funny little caveat, the president seems to be acknowledging the fact that Raiden is quite feminine. So once you meet the president's first instinct is to go over and to grab Raiden by the crotch because he's unsure as to whether or not Raiden is a man or a woman.
What are you... What the...
You're a man?
Upon giving him an owl pat on the balls, oh, you're a man? Which always kind of made me kind of wonder, so like, hang on now. If he was a woman,
I have a feeling in his last moments he wanted to grab a bit of fanny.
Yeah. Fucking hashtag me too. So
I've come to accept the my actions.
Oh yeah, I've come. Yeah. I've accepted the consequences of my betrayal. So
goes to Copperfield then.
He's acknowledging the fact. Look, I know I have been in cahoots with these terrorists, and that there's going to be repercussions from someone that up to this point we don't know who.
But before I go out, I'm grabbing myself a handful of you.
Yeah. I'm having myself an owl feel a box. But life has its way of disappointing us all, and sure enough, there was no box to be had for President Johnson.
No,
only flute. So yeah, after that hilarious little introduction, we have a conversation where Ryden questions the president as to why he has turned on the United States, and the president goes on to say, because he wanted power.
You're working for them?
If you asked me 2 hours ago, my answer would have been yes. I wanted power. They sought destruction.
But why stoop to terrorism?
I wanted absolute power.
Absolute power.
Absolute power is the way that he puts it.
Right, and then rebuttal saying, you're the president, you have all the power.
Yeah, you're the president.
Then we lead into the absolute madness.
Yeah.
But you're the president. You have power.
No, I'm just a figurehead.
What?
I don't have any control. The real power is in the Patriots' hands.
The Patriots?
The truth behind this country.
So that's when we are informed that no, the actual power rests in the hands of an organization by the name of the Patriots. I found this conversation to be pretty unnerving, because this is like, the second game in this series, and now we're basically being told that there's this shadowy organization, this game's equivalent of the Illuminati, who are behind the scenes and manipulate the entire US government and, by proxy, the entire world.
The Patriots. Even I don't know who the actual members are. Are they financial, political, or military leaders? No one knows who the Patriots really are. Even my instructions come from a cutout. All I've been told is that every key decision is made by a group of 12 men, known as the Wise Men's Committee.
Your office? The White House?
Merely puppets, pawns in a game. By pledging my loyalty, an insignificant son of a senator was awarded the presidency. Of course, that wasn't the only price I had to pay.
What do you mean?
Even if a pawn becomes a queen, it is still just a playing piece. I wanted to leave my own mark in history, but my ambitions were... You'll understand someday.
The entire US political system is a sham and a farce, and it's basically pageantry that's constructed by the Patriots to make the world believe that they have some say in who calls the shots and what goes on. But really, the entire world is being manipulated by this group of 12 men. So these 12 motherfuckers are behind everything. Not alone everything in this game, but everything.
The space defense, income tax reduction, and national missile defense programs. Every policy that's been credited to me was actually done according to their instructions.
Space defense was initiated by Congress.
That's what the Patriots want the country to believe. It's all a show. Democracy is just a filler for textbooks. Think about it. Do you actually believe that public opinion influences the government?
No.
This country is shaped and controlled as the Patriots see fit. The people are shown what they want to believe. What you call government is actually a well-staged production aimed at satisfying the public.
Economically,
relationships,
business, a whole lot, lads. They have it all.
Economies, yeah, and this was trippy shit to the mind of a 13-year-old. It's trippy shit.
The thing is,
now.
leading all the way up to this point, there was breadcrumbs left for the player to kind of scratch their head. There's a bit of familiarity to the previous game. There's stuff that's not adding up. What the hell's going on? And instead of kind of leading or kind of gradually leading into what's actually happening, you get this massive bombshell just dropped on the player. It's like everything you've been taught to believe, buddy. Nah.
Yeah,
Let me tell you.
Yeah. You're told that the events of the first game were the consequence of Solidus Snake trying to overthrow the Patriots. The whole Shadow Moses incident was him trying to strong-arm the Patriots into submitting to his will. So that didn't work out in his favour. So shortly after that, Patriots were going to have Solidus killed. Only Solidus was one step ahead and he got the fuck out of Dodge with the aid of Ocelot. And after that, President Johnson, the guy who we were speaking to now, took over as the President of the United States.
They put him into that position. He was their next pawn.
Yeah, he was the next pawn to be put into that position and to do the Patriots' bidding. Only he started to lust for actual power because, you know, he wanted to be the president. Only when he became the president, he found out that you don't actually have any power. You're just a puppet. And all this Wiseman's committee, these Patriots are the real rulers. So the president's motive for working alongside these terrorists was to, in fact, try and bargain his way into the ranks of the Wiseman's committee. He wanted to wield actual power. But upon getting into this debacle with Solidus and all the lads, it became clear that there was no way to challenge the Patriots, and as bad as the Patriots are, as twisted as it all is, because they regulate everything, the economy, international relations.
It would essentially create a giant power vacuum.
Yeah, if anyone challenged the Patriots, and if the Patriots were somehow taken out of play, basically the world would be engulfed in chaos, because there would be a huge political power vacuum left in their wake that every greedy power monger would try and fill. So you'd have civil war, chaos, panic, all the rest of this shit. So he's basically like it or not, the Patriots is an organisation that must continue to exist. So
better the devil you know.
Yeah, he acknowledged this, and he decided after this whole uprising, he basically said to Solidus that, look, no, I can't. I'm risking throwing the entire world into chaos by challenging these people. To which Solidus responds, pawns can never become players. So Solidus' motive is Solidus wants to overthrow the Patriots and to give back actual liberty to the people, to mankind. Hence the terrorists' name, Sons of Liberty. So their whole stake in this is to overthrow essentially the Illuminati, who are orchestrating the entire fucking world, are basically dancing to the tune of these 12 motherfuckers.
To sever their control over the people.
Yeah, that's it.
And how do they plan to do this? By using Arsenal gear.
That's it.
And this is where we get the reveal for the new Metal Gear.
Metal Gear is already operational.
No, not yet. What you saw was Metal Gear Ray, hijacked 2 years ago from the Marines by Ocelot. That was not the new Metal Gear.
That's right, yeah. So the new Metal Gear that's being developed.
That's right. Arsenal. We're talking about an impregnable fortress carrying a load of over a couple of thousand missiles, including nuclear warheads, all protected by a horde of mass-produced Metal Gear Ray units.
Mass-produced?
The Ray unit was originally designed for the Marines to be used as a countermeasure against the Metal Gear variations throughout the world. The Patriots had Ray redesigned to protect the new Arsenal gear.
So now anti-Metal Gears are guarding a Metal Gear.
Ironic, isn't it?
So it is unlike any other Metal Gear that has preceded it, in that its threat isn't, oh, this thing can launch nukes. Well, it can launch nukes, yeah, but
that's a defense mechanism for its true purpose.
Yeah. What Arsenal Gear was supposedly designed to be, rather than just being some new weapon, Arsenal Gear was designed to be the core of the country, because Arsenal Gear houses an AI by the name of GW standing for George Washington, being the first president of the United States.
That's not all. Arsenal Gear has full access to the military's tactical network, giving it the ability to exercise absolute control over our nation's armed forces, not to mention our nuclear armament. In short, Arsenal was created to be the core of our country.
What kind of idiotic weapon?
Weapon? No. You're not seeing the full picture. Arsenal Gear is more than just a military tool.
An autonomous system that will control the economy, control the
flow of information.
It is a means to preserve the world as it is. It will establish a new form of control. The Patriots will use it to keep their place as the country's true rulers. Right now, they feel pressured and threatened.
By what?
They fear an overabundance of digital information. The world will drown in the coming flood of information, and they along with it.
This game was released in 2001, so the internet was only becoming prevalent.
It's now becoming more accessible to everyone.
Yeah. So the flow of information has become so kind of prevalent with the rise of the internet that the Patriots are worried that due to all this unregulated information, it's going to become more and more difficult to manipulate the world as they have been doing up until this point. So they needed to create some kind of a system in which to filter information in such a way that whatever it is they want the public to believe, they can filter this data, and we have this AI do all the thinking for society, and that system is GW.
The Arsenal plans include a system to digitally manage the flow of information, making it possible to shape the truth for their own purposes. In short, the Arsenal system is the key to their supremacy.
The key?
Yes. The GW system is the Patriots' trump card. Arsenal gear will be fully operational when GW is successfully integrated. Once operational, it will be a completely new form of power for the Patriots to wield.
Arsenal Gear's true purpose is to be the heart and mind of the entire country and the world by extension. So you have this massive battleship submarine type job.
Like a mobile fortress kind of yoke.
Yeah, like a mobile fortress that at its heart exists this AI. And this AI that basically manipulates the entire world, essentially. And its function is to regulate information and only let out to the world what the Patriots want the world to see and what they want the world to believe. So you've got this machine with this AI that's housed in this fortress. The Metal Gear that we saw in the tanker, the Metal Gear Ray, that Metal Gear has now been mass produced as protection for this new Metal Gear. So there's hundreds of these mass produced Metal Gear Rays that are built into Arsenal Gear as a means of protecting GW and protecting Arsenal Gear itself. So this thing, it's beyond anything that we have encountered, and it's a mind-boggling thing because...
Mind-boggling, Jesus.
Yeah, it's not... It's
just
not
dropped on the player like that.
Yeah.
Muddle the mind.
So before it was fairly standard enough in that, okay, here's a weapon. It launches nuclear weapons from anywhere on the face of the world, so it needs to be destroyed. But here we have this thing that's basically been created by the Illuminati to control what humanity knows, what humanity doesn't, and to control what way society will evolve, basically. And this machine is going to do all the thinking for us as a species. And that's what you're going up against now. So your entire world has been...
We're a long way from Fatman anyway.
Yeah.
This is a whole different kind of game.
We're a long, long way from the events of the first game, where it was just let's go and beat the bad guys and destroy their super secret nuclear robot. Now we're into some very... very precarious territory altogether.
Yeah.
So look...
the threat up that is kind of known now to Raiden is that they want to fire the nukes. That is Solidus' plan. But it's not to destroy anything per se. It's rather to launch it for an atmospheric effect.
Right.
To wipe out all kind of electricity.
So the reason that Solidus and his crew, the Sons of Liberty, pulls this whole incident, this whole big shell debacle, so as they could seize control of Arsenal Gear, use Arsenal Gear to launch a nuclear weapon and detonate it over the skies of Manhattan. And not to destroy Manhattan, but so as the electromagnetic blast would disable the Patriots' control over the island of Manhattan. So the Patriots' control would be relinquished, and Manhattan would then be turned into a kind of a republic. And that would basically be Solidus' foothold to start his rebellion against this Illuminati. That's his whole stake, is that he wants to take back humanity's control, to take back the control of society from this group.
Restore liberty to the people.
Yeah, the whole Sons of Liberty jazz. So now we know what's going on, and from this point is when we get into the real surreal mindfuck territory. So we've gotten here now, we're an hour and 3/4 into part 2.
Ooh.
And I think we might as well put a bullet in it here because we are getting into...
My mind is fried of you explaining that. I couldn't have articulated that myself.
I actually failed badly to articulate there because
it's too hard, like.
Well, just I've been talking too long, so we need to stop here. And in the next one,
we're going to take a wee break now.
In the next one, we're going to attack it and get into the actual. Say there was just so much to cover in such a short space of time. We have to kind of barrel through things. There's so much fine detail, but the ideas that are explored in this section of the game, to try and plow on now and try and put any type of coherent explanation to it, is an exercise in absolute futility. So we're going to put a cap on it here, and in the next one we're going to get into the thick of it.
The apotheosis.
Yeah, so the next one will be the concluding chapter of our Metal Gear Solid 2 podcasts, and Christ almighty, it is going to be a bit of a mindfuck. So look, we've just touched off of the Patriots reveal, the reveal of Arsenal gear, the purpose of Arsenal gear, and in the next we're getting into existential crisis territory. So
hope you tune in for that.
Yeah, hope you're looking forward to that. Because I'm not. But anyway.
Oh God Almighty!
So look, once again, I have been joined by my buddy Ben.
It's good. It was good to be here, PJ. It's always a pleasure, lads. Thank you for tuning in.
Yeah, you might want to get your affairs in order for the next one.
It's a heavy one, lads.
Because it's going to be tough going, and there's going to have to be a ball of notes, a good bit of homework done by myself before we get into this next one, because like I said, this is going to be tough going.
Yes.
But anyway.
So until then, thank you for tuning in to TippCast. This has been part 2 of Metal Gear Solid 2. So next time will be Metal Gear Solid 2 part 3.
Yep.
Just in case you got that.
So, on that note, get your bag and baggage and
fuck off!
I'm going to go in my pants.
Just call me Deep Throat.